Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks for being with us tonight. Two major interviews just minutes away. My exclusive talk with Eric Trump in a moment, plus I'll speak with incoming White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer. But first, my opening statement. You know, politics gets in the way a lot, sometimes even in the way of dying kids. I wanted to start tonight with all the enthusiasm of the first show the new year deserves. But when I found out the Eric Trump Children's Foundation was being forced to suspend operations, I was furious. It happened on Christmas Eve, that night when most children dream about what Santa has in store for them in that bag chock full of goodies. While those children were nestled all snug in their beds, there were other children in different kinds of beds, not dreaming of sugar plum fairies. Those children, the unluckiest of them all. Because someone was a crook, those children lost. Because someone lined their own pockets from their so-called charity, laundering money from foreign governments and oligarchs under the guise of starting a presidential library, but actually seeking to pay lawyers in sexual harassment judgments, those children lost. Because a self-admitted dead broke, penniless couple parlayed their charity into a pay-for-play and $250 million for themselves. These children lost. And of course comes the New York Times in their perennial state of moral inequivalency, echoing claims of influence peddling from the shady Clinton Foundation, where authorities refuse to even lift the veil of corruption, opining that surely Eric Trump's Children's Foundation will influence peddle, albeit not admitting that the Clintons did. But to be fair, Eric Trump must close his Children's Foundation. Permit a few differences. Eric Trump was not penniless or in debt when he started the Eric Trump Foundation. He did not start that foundation to make money, and he certainly did not become rich because of it. Here's what his own wife told me in Florida.
He started the Eric Trump Foundation to help kids with cancer. And in fact, he's such a humble guy that when I first met him, I didn't even know about it. He started it the year before we met, and it was almost like he didn't want to toot his own horn to say, look what I did.
You know, on the show, I remember his saying that 100% of the proceeds go to the kids.
It's very important to Eric. The low expense ratio of the Eric Trump Foundation is something he's always worked so hard for. I mean, he works his hardest at the Eric Trump Foundation, and I've seen him negotiate for cents off of a price, pennies off of a price, just because he knows that that's a penny more that could go to the kids of St. Jude. And it's really disappointing to see how other charities out there are run. And I use charities very loosely because we see the Clinton Foundation, and it's disgraceful, quite frankly, that they could be categorized in the same space as the Eric Trump Foundation.
Eric was 21 years old when he followed through on his dream to create a children's foundation. Most, if not all, of the money goes directly to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital in Tennessee. There's no money from foreign governments or foreign oligarchs, and certainly no business deals or sale of American assets accompany contributions. In fact, Eric Trump was not in the government, nor will he be. No charity money was ever used to fly around in private jets or to live a life to which he was unaccustomed. Eric can actually trumpet concrete accomplishments like the intensive care unit at St. Jude's opened on February 2015 before his dad was ever a candidate for anything. All the money's raised, almost 100%, given to the charity for the foundation, millions, almost 20 million, operated with one employee, Eric shouldering operating costs himself. And so this past Christmas Eve, Those children not dreaming of toys or sugar plum fairies, but the ones praying their next chemo or blood transfusion wouldn't hurt so much. Some even praying that death wouldn't visit their rooms that night, hoping maybe, just maybe, an angel would come with a gift. Not a gift of toys, but a gift of life, all because a young man named Eric. They lost that night. Yes, it was the unluckiest of them all who suffered that night, because a young man who did nothing but good for all the right reasons could not continue to do good because evil was assumed to be the norm, as Scrooge and the ghosts of the Clintons past visited the Eric Trump Foundation and the children who benefited. And that's my open. Tell me what you think on my Facebook page or Twitter, hashtag Judge Jeanine. And joining me now by phone, President-elect Trump's son, Executive Vice President of the Trump Organization and founder of the Eric Trump Foundation, Eric Trump. This is Eric's first television interview since suspending the charity, and I believe since the election. Eric, thanks for being with us tonight. Where have you been?
Judge, good evening. We've been trying to pinch ourselves. It's been an incredible couple weeks, and so great on so many fronts. Really minus what you just brought up, but we're so proud of our father, and we are just on cloud nine as a family.
Eric, what did you think when the New York Times started comparing your foundation, which pretty much comprised a third of your life, you're a young man, and said, there's no way that this can continue under Eric's direction, the foundation that you started to help kids dying of cancer, and you made a decision that you were going to step away with it. How did that make you feel?
Honestly, truly one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever had to do. We've put our heart and soul into the foundation over the last 10 years. We've raised $17 million for dying children. We have one of the lowest expense ratios of any charity in the country or the world, and we're so fortunate. I mean, it's one of the great benefits or perks or whatever you might call it of having a big organization with great assets that you can use, practically for free. And we raise so much money for St. Jude. Obviously, the second somebody's elected into public office, you're no longer given the benefit of the doubt. No matter how good your track record was, no matter how much great you've done, you're no longer given the benefit of the doubt, and it's very, very sad because at the end of the day, the only people who lose, as you said so well in your opening, the only people who lose are some of the sickest children in the world, and those are the kids at St. Jude.
Well, the New York Times originally questioned how much you gave and said there wasn't any evidence to support it, and yet just yesterday, apparently, they seem to indicate that clearly you had given well over $16 million. Was there any satisfaction from that, Eric?
Yeah, I thought it was very nice that they came around and actually admitted how much we've donated to the hospital, and quite frankly, they said some really nice things, which is very vindicating. And I think there are many other people who have said nasty things over the years, and that's, Judge, the political world that we as a family now live in, right? I mean, it's just the reality. You're going to have people who go out and make statements for to sensationalize whatever they can to sell newspapers, and we're going to be dealing with that for the next 4 or 8 years. And,
but Eric, that has to frustrate you because you're not in office, you're not in the government. In fact, we haven't seen you pretty much since the election because you and your brother Donnie, Donald Jr., that we saw so often, are now back in the business. Your father's getting ready to run the business of the country, and he has been actually since he was elected. Does this frustrate you?
Yeah, of course it's frustrating, and that's a narrative that they're going to try and keep up for the next, again, 4 or 8 years, and it's going to be a narrative of harassment. And sadly enough, again, in this case, it's the kids who lost. It's millions and millions and millions of dollars going to the best pediatric research hospital anywhere in the world, and that's sad. And that's the game that gets played with politics, and that's collateral damage that exists even if you're not a political figure. even if you're outside of politics, even if you've said that you're going to have nothing to do with the administration, even if you're outside of politics, even if you've said that you're going to have nothing to do with the administration. But it's, the reality of the world, and, it's going to be the quagmire that, we as a family live in for a long period of time.
Did you expect that it would be this difficult, Eric?
No, listen, it's been amazing. And, when I see my father, save jobs all over the place, when you see what just happened with Ford and you see what happened with so many of these great companies.
Eric, for you personally.
Well, you know what? I think we all knew, going into politics, I think was going to be difficult. It was going to be interesting. It's also been, at the same time, amazingly exciting. And he's going to be incredible at what he does. Will there be sacrifices that are made on certain ends? Absolutely. I think this is one of the great sacrifices that will be made because, again, this charity was doing so many great things. But it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be tough, and it's going to be, in many ways brutal. And that's the political system that we have as a country. No one's given the benefit of the doubt anymore because of bad actions of other people before them. And it's a very, very sad thing, especially in cases like this.
And because of the bad actions, as I said, because of evil before you, the children are the ones who lost. Eric Trump, we miss you. We miss your brother. We don't see you anymore, but I know you're back to business. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you so much, Judge.
All right.
You too.
And America is ready to welcome a new president in less than 2 weeks. But not everybody's on board. In fact, some people on the left are doing their best to subvert democracy and the American way by encouraging people to not even give the incoming president a chance to lead, the chance that he earned fair and square back in November. Here's left-wing movie director Michael Moore right after the election talking about what he and his followers are going to be doing in the days up to and beyond the inauguration while Donald Trump is working tirelessly to fix the country.
We are going to resist. We are going to oppose. This is going to be a massive resistance. There's already women are calling for a 1 million woman march.
Okay, so it's indicative of a movement on the left to delegitimize a new president. And joining me now to talk about that and more is the incoming White House press secretary, Sean Spicer. All right, good evening, Sean. I just listening to Eric, and it was really an emotional piece that his foundation that, he is forced to separate himself from because, nothing that he's done, he's not even in the government, but because of the behavior of, I believe, the Clintons and all of the attacks on that foundation that I believe were legitimate. But now we have people saying, let's stop President Trump before he even gets there. Well, the man hasn't stopped that. Donald Trump was elected fair and square, and let's give the man a chance.
Well, there's a couple things, Judge. First, just commenting on the last segment, I think it is sad that Eric Trump's worked so hard for St. Jude's and the work that he's done and the monies that he's raised, because he's right that the only children who lose are those sick children at St. Jude's. He has done some amazing work, as have the other children, and the Trump Foundation as a whole. And it's sad because the losers are the people that they have worked so hard to help. But getting to your question, I mean, look, on November 8th, Donald Trump won 30 states, 9 of 13 battleground states, 306 electoral votes, over 2,600 counties, and flipped 200 counties that Barack Obama had carried in 12. I'm not sure how much more resounding of a win that you can get. The movement that he led spoke loud and clearly on Election Day. So, but I think more importantly, to your point, since he took that stage at 2:50 a.m. and talked about uniting all Americans, he has worked tirelessly not only to put together probably the most amazing cabinet ever seen, but to get results, whether it's Carrier or Sprint, and talking about thousands of jobs that he is personally working to bring back to this country, or saving the American taxpayers millions and billions of dollars through his work to lower the cost of the F-35 or the next generation of Air Force One. A guy who's still 13 days from office has a track record as president-elect that most presidents would like to have as president.
Yeah, but Sean, look, the positives that the president-elect can talk about, I mean, are clear. I mean, I think that most people are blown away by the fact that the man is even working 24/7. But more importantly, there is this. It's not just Democrat. It's not progressive. It's not just left. It's almost anarchist. There are communists. I mean, revolutionary communists taking out ads saying we've got to stop this man. Is there a concern for the inauguration? They're talking about protests. Do whatever they can to stop Donald Trump.
Well, look, I think that more and more of these individuals are finding themselves in the minority. There's going to be probably a historic record of people filling the mall because the movement that Donald Trump has led is a movement of change, a movement that finally taps into the frustration that so many American workers are finally saying, thank you for understanding what I've been saying for so long and been so forgotten. So I think that inauguration is going to be a historic one, in that it's not just going to be an amazing day, but it's going to be the beginning of an amazing 8 years for Donald Trump. He's going to, the thing that I think is going to be fascinating, Judge, is at some point, the facts are just going to become overwhelming because of the number of successes that he has as president, both domestically and internationally. At some point, you have to say, wow, he has saved a job of a friend or a family member. He has lifted up the wages of someone that I know. My health care has gone down, and I can now go see that doctor that I talked about. I have more educational choices. The inner cities are better than they were. The roads and bridges and infrastructure of our country are finally getting repaired the way that they should have.
The Democrats right now are being so obstructionary or obstructionist that they're saying, we've got all of these ethical hurdles that before we even get to the confirmation hearings. I mean, I've never heard about these ethical procedures or hurdles that they have to overcome first. Have you?
Well, no, you didn't hear about him in 2008 when Chuck Schumer voted 42 times to look the other way on Democrats that were seeking appointments in the Obama administration. You didn't see them when when the Republicans granted 7 of those Democratic nominees their confirmation vote on day 1 and 5 more the next time, 13 by voice vote in total. Republicans acted professionally and responsibly in 2008 and recognized that the president has an opportunity to have the people that are qualified to be in his cabinet. Donald Trump, as president-elect, has selected the most qualified cabinet in modern history, if not ever. I think these Democrats are getting split by Chuck Schumer because I think Schumer is trying to play a political game here, but most Democrats recognize that the movement wasn't just about Republicans. It was about Democrats and independents and many of their own constituents. You take a state like Missouri where President-elect Trump carried that by 19 points. Yeah. I don't think Claire McCaskill is going to want to vote against that kind of an overwhelming message when it comes to these confirmation picks because not only are they qualified, but she's got to recognize that she's going to have to answer to her constituents if she doesn't understand the change that they voted for in Missouri and, frankly, states around the country.
Donald Trump has an opportunity to continue to change the landscape and those elections going forward. Anyway, Sean Spicer, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Judge. Have a good night.
Next, I'm joined by someone calling for protest against President-elect Trump. This is a debate you're not going to want to miss. Then Congressman Darrell Issa is here live to talk about the incoming administration, as well as his home state of California's curious move involving former Attorney General Eric Holder. Plus, are you worried about the Russians hacking us?
My girlfriend's Russian, and no, I'm not worried at all.
Are you worried about her?
No, I love it at that.
I Ask America about the Russian hacking hearing. Street justice is still ahead. And it ends with a big surprise as justice rolls on. Countdown to Inauguration Day is still on, but some still refuse to accept the reality. And so calls for protests hang over what needs to be a seamless transition. My next guest is one of many attempting to delegitimize Trump's presidency before it even begins. Carl Dix is the national spokesperson for the Revolutionary Communist Party in the United States, and he joins me now. Carl, thanks for being on with us tonight. Now, I was fascinated, like many, with the ad in the New York Times that said something like, "No, in the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America." And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it pretty much says we got to stop the Trump-Pence regime before it starts. So we don't have a lot of time, and so I'll ask some direct questions. Carl, how are you going to stop the Trump-Pence regime? The man was elected. It was fair and square. And the Electoral College has been certified. We're getting ready to roll. What are you going to do to stop it?
Look, no election, fair or foul, should legitimize a fascist regime, and that is what the Trump-Pence regime is. Donald Trump campaigned as a fascist. He has assembled a team to carry out that fascist agenda. We've seen this before, the demonization of minorities, the saber rattling. I mean, the man spent the Christmas holidays, a time that's supposed to be peace on earth and goodwill towards men, tweeting about a new nuclear arms race.
Okay.
And the suppression of civil liberties.
Carl, because
this
I don't
is what
have a lot
he
of time, I
campaigned
want to
on.
ask you some
this
questions.
Is illegitimate.
Carl, okay. Now, let me, what about, you want to talk about delegitimizing, and I have to be honest, Donald Trump is someone that I believe in, but let me just say this. Aren't you delegitimizing the election and the Constitution because you don't like the guy?
It's not, I mean, I don't like the guy, but what I don't like is the agenda that he campaigned on.
Yeah, but he won.
And that's
Carl,
what millions and millions of people don't like. And they are right not to like it. We have seen this before. Hitler came to power through legitimate means.
Okay, you're
and
not
humanity
saying
would have
Donald
been
Trump is
much
Hitler,
better
are you?
off if people in Germany had acted to stop him. Okay, right. He's different than Hitler. He doesn't have that little black mustache. He's got that orange squirrel on his head. But he has the agenda of a Hitler.
Okay, Carl.
That's what it represents.
That's what it comes down to. Discussion with you. Let me ask you this.
Well,
you say
look,
people
we
have
got to talk about the fascist character of this regime.
People have anxiety and fear of Donald Trump. Why don't they have anxiety and fear before Donald Trump? He hasn't even done anything yet. Where's the anxiety and fear?
The anxiety and fear is based upon what he campaigned on. Muslim registry. People who burn the flag should have their citizenship taken away. This is illegitimate. This is illegitimate, and it also is going to be a form of rule that suppresses the civil liberties to fight against these horrors.
But the man
People are
done
right
anything.
to be fearful.
Give me an example
and
of
that
what
is
he's
why,
done. Carl, tell me what he's done.
That is why we took out this ad and why we're calling on people. RefuseFascism.org is calling on people to take to the streets to display and manifest their refusal to accept.
Let's assume they take to the streets. What should they do on the streets, Carl?
Into the streets
in
Washington, D.C., where I'm going to be, or everywhere else, and do everything to show their refusal to accept this regime.
Does that mean stop him from going to the White House, Carl?
Nonviolent civil disobedience, protesting in other ways.
Nonviolent.
Candlelight vigils. Candlelight vigils. However people want to do it. But the business as usual in the society has got to be stopped.
So you don't believe
to prevent a Trump-Pence regime from taking the reins of power.
He is certified as president. Are you an anarchist or a communist?
Look, it's real clear. I told you I was a communist, and I'll come and talk to you about communism. Bring me on another show.
Okay. All right.
People can go to revcom.us to find out about this. Tonight, I want to talk about stopping this fascist regime.
I'm worried about how far you're willing to go and your followers to stop it.
RefuseFascism.org will tell you exactly what I want to do.
No more publicizing.
Go to it. Get involved. We have to stop this regime.
Plus my political panel. Then.
Our friend's getting engaged today.
Oh, he is? That's worse than hacking. Oh, that's so sweet. Why would anyone get married?
I went in search of some street justice on Russian hacking, and I found love at a construction site. A street justice like you've never seen before, as justice rolls on.
Americans, 83% try to eat healthy.
As busy as we close in on just 12 days until the inauguration of our 45th president. Joining me now is my political panel, our old friend GOPAC chairman and Republican strategist David Avella, and making his justice debut tonight, Democratic strategist and former consultant to the Department of Homeland Security, Mustafa Tamiz. Thanks for joining us, gentlemen. All right, I want to start with the Russian hacking issue. And I'll start with you, David, on the issue of whether or not the Russian hacking issue is one that has given President-elect Donald Trump's decision to say, you know, there was some Russian influence over the hacking. Did he make a turnaround on this, and was it enough?
Judge, Americans did not need Vladimir Putin to know that Hillary Clinton was corrupt and lying and believed she was above the law. It didn't ultimately impact the election, just as in 1960, Nikita Khrushchev believed he influenced the 1960 election when he held U-2 pilot Francis Powers and wouldn't release him. He believed that hurt Nixon. Look, he didn't hurt Nixon's chances at getting elected, and Putin didn't hurt Clinton's chances of getting elected, and this is a lot about nothing.
Mustafa, haven't countries, I mean, since the Cold War, hasn't everybody been spying on everybody, you know, for decades? Isn't this what books are written about, and all of a sudden we're so shocked?
Look, Judge, you're right. We've been spying on them. They've been spying on us, and this is done all the time. But to actually weaponize the information, to put it out there, to change the election results, to actually create fake news, to hack into the system and use the information and put it out
Mustafa,
there.
I have to
That's what's dangerous.
Mustafa, I have to stop you. What fake news? Nothing in those emails was ever contested as being fake.
Look, it's not just the emails that they put out. They actually have Russian TV, which is actually a television news network that's played in the United States, created an echo chamber to put fake news information as well as the emails to support Donald Trump's election stuff. They talked about, that the elections are rigged. They kept on putting information out there that there was problems with our election system. That is a documented fact that both the FBI, NSA, and the CIA put out a very detailed report, and I think that your viewers and you should really look at that report.
Judge,
that whether the Russians hacked or not, there's no discussion of any election machines or any numbers being impacted.
Absolutely.
Okay,
not
go
the
ahead,
elections.
David.
Judge, the bigger impact here, if we want to talk about how hacks impacted the election, all the OPM records that got taken by some foreign government that now millions, hundreds of thousands of government employees now have all of their records out there. We had a series of breaches of government servers that released personal data on people. It became to a point where Americans just started questioning, was their personal safety secured? And did this administration do enough? And ultimately they decided no. They decided their economic security and their personal security weren't being taken care of by this administration, and that's why they said it's time to go in a different direction.
Go ahead.
Hillary represented more.
Look, David, at some point we're going to have to start putting our country ahead of our party. This is someone hacking into emails, to releasing the information, someone coming into our country to undermine our elections. We have crossed the line. We've got to start putting partisan politics aside and putting our nation first. Look, Donald Trump is president-elect. Donald Trump is president-elect. I'll even say he's got big hands. But the fact that the Russians came in, hacked into our systems, and tried to undermine an election, he's got to admit to that. You've got to admit to that. And we've got to go on and start making them pay a price for that.
Okay, Mustafa, didn't Hillary Clinton accused Putin of doing something like that? And I hear he was getting even with her. David, are you familiar with that?
Vaguely, Judge.
That Putin was getting even with her, that they weren't. Go ahead, Mustafa.
Judge, you're absolutely right. Look, I mean, Putin basically had a vendetta against her because she went in the UN
did the same
and
thing
she
to
tried to expose. Well, look, she went in the UN and she made a speech exposing the fact that he was rigging the election. So she did her job as Secretary of State, showing the fact that Putin was doing all sorts of underhanded things in terms of rigging their election. He took a personal offense to it. He then came into the United States to undermine our election, not only just to spy on us, but to basically create a news channel in our country, to use social media to make Americans feel like that there was something wrong with the election. And that's what's
impacted the results. What voting machine got rigged that truly had results impact?
No one is saying that.
Mustafa Tamiz, thank you for being with us tonight.
Thanks, Judge.
A special street justice still ahead, and Congressman Darrell Issa next.
Picking up for Kyle.
There you go.
You wouldn't put up with part of a pizza.
Something wrong?
So when it comes to pain relievers, why put up with just part of a day?
You want the whole thing?
Yes, yes.
Live whole, not part. Aleve.
If you head to the bank and wait to get approved for a mortgage, that newly listed ranch will be gone. Or you could push that button. Skip the bank.
The state of California has actually hired former Attorney General Eric Holder to fight President-elect Donald Trump before he's even gotten into office. Joining me now to talk about that and more, Republican Congressman Darrell Issa, senior member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Okay, do they even know what they're hiring him to fight with Trump about?
No, Greta, no, they really don't, Judge. I can't believe I said that. It's a long story. I'll tell you later. But Judge, it's one of those amazing things. They're hiring him for the same reason that when I became chairman of the Oversight Committee, they increased their staff at the White House in the way of lawyers, even before I'd asked for the first piece of information. For whatever reason, the left-leaning, far left legislature in California wants to fight this administration on anything and everything so they can keep doing what they're doing.
Isn't California broke?
Well, they're certainly upside down. They have the highest taxes, income tax in the nation, 13.3%, 8.5+% sales tax, and they have a budget deficit. And businesses leaving California, one of the greatest states to work and live in, except for the government we have.
All right. And didn't you say you question whether Eric Holder should even be practicing law, Congressman?
Well, he's the only constitutional officer ever held in contempt by Congress. He lied to Congress and
furious,
in fact,
right?
withheld information. We haven't missed him since he left because, in fact, he was somebody that had no respect for the law that he was sworn to defend.
Okay, and this retainer in the law firm that he's in Washington, D.C., do we have any idea how big it is?
Well, I suspect it's in the seven figures, but we won't know.
Is it a million?
In the millions. Eric Holder doesn't come cheap. He is quite a namehead. He's a rainmaker there. But again, this is somebody who, for lying to Congress, should have lost his bar license.
Yeah, interesting that he didn't. All right, let's move on to Donald Trump, and not what the left is saying and trying to say about him, but what he's done even before he's made it to the White House. Now, the latest this week is Ford. We heard about Carrier a few weeks ago, and now Ford. You've got is it Mark Fields, who's talking about Ford plants and what they're doing?
Well, I had dinner with Mark Fields here in Las Vegas at the Consumer Electronics Show just last night. He's excited about a better business climate, one in which Ford can make investments in the United States and have them pay off. And that is the result of this election. And you're going to see other companies do that, as you say, even before President Trump is sworn in. But part of that is the same reason the stock market has gone up more than 1,000 points. There are things you do in anticipation of a good market. There's things you do in anticipation of a government that's not going to be friendly. Right now, the market, the stock market, and Ford Motor Company are gearing up for a better economy, one in which we have lower taxes, lower government spending, and a more pro-business environment that creates jobs here in America.
And there were no subsidies or anything that was offered.
Not a one. This was a good business decision made by one of the great industrial companies of the world.
And so people in Michigan, even if they didn't vote for him, I guess they benefit, huh? those unions?
Well, you know, the people of Michigan, the rank and file workers at Ford Motor Company, a great many of them voted for Donald Trump, even though their union was saying not to. And tonight, I think they're very happy that they did.
And you know what? I think, Congressman, we're going to see a lot more Americans happy with Donald Trump. Anyway, Congressman Darrell Issa, even though you didn't get my name right, thanks for being with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Judge.
Okay. And the first Street Justice of 2017 is straight ahead, and this one's got a surprise at the end. Stay with us.
Starting.
Finally time for the first Street Justice of 2017. Now, I wanted to find out what people thought about those Russian hacking hearings in Washington and whether anyone really cared. But when I stumbled upon a Manhattan construction site, I found true love. Take a look. Are the Russians hacking us?
I very much doubt it.
Are the Russians hacking us?
I don't know anything about sports.
Sports?
I thought you said the Redskins. I can't hear.
What are you talking about? I don't know. You think the Redskins are hacking? Are the Russians hacking us?
Yeah, I believe so.
Well, do we care?
Not really.
What's the deal? Is Putin hacking us?
I believe he is.
Oh, do you think we hack them too?
No.
Really?
Really.
Don't you watch the movies?
You are a pretty lady.
Do you think that the Russians hacked us?
I don't know.
Don't foreign countries spy on each other all the time?
I don't know.
Don't you watch the movies?
No.
Are you worried about anything?
No, I know. No.
No? You on your break?
Yes.
Okay. You want me to leave?
Yes, you want.
Are the Russians hacking us?
I don't know.
Do you care?
Not really.
Why is Congress having hearings on it?
Because they got nothing else to talk about. They want to distract the public, I guess.
Okay, what are you focused on?
Getting money.
Damn money. Do you remember the hunt for Red October?
Yes.
All right. Do you remember that Sean Connery had to kill that guy on top of the submarine?
But yeah.
Okay. Do you think we do that kind of thing?
No.
No, of course not. So why is Congress having hearings on hacking? What is the whole point?
Democrats are not happy with Trump. So they're going to do whatever they can to kind of dismay that.
Are you worried about the Russians hacking us?
My girlfriend's Russian, and no, I'm not worried at all.
Are you worried about her?
No, I love it at that. All of a sudden, Russia's a big enemy of the United States of America. What's the problem?
Well, the problem is the Democrats lost, and they're trying to come up with a reason.
That's it. That's the truth. That's how it is.
What?
Our friend's getting engaged today.
Oh, he is? That's worse than hacking. Oh, that's so sweet. Why would anyone get married? Why, you married?
16 lovely years.
Yeah, 16
Yeah.
years? Yeah, I had 16 lovely years, too. You're getting married? Why? Why? Are you getting married?
No.
Did you know someone's getting engaged here?
Today?
Yeah, they're putting a sign up. They just told me.
You're lying.
No, I'm not lying. You're getting married. Why?
Tell me right here.
Why?
When you fall in love, what do you do?
You fall in love, you run. Okay, wait a minute. No, I'm only kidding.
I have a big banner coming down. They're going to bring it down with the crane. So.
The big banner? What does the banner say?
Will you marry?
What is she going to say?
I'm hoping she says yes.
Well, what if she's in a bad mood and she says, not today?
Well, then we'll see what tomorrow says.
Okay, let me see the ring. I'll tell you whether she's... What? Who's calling? Is that the boss? Tell him you're talking to me. Now listen. Show me the ring. Oh my God, it's gorgeous.
Thank you.
Oh, good luck to you.
Appreciate it.
Oh, no, marriage is wonderful. It is. And guess what? He asked her. He raised a giant banner in Times Square, and she said yes. Congratulations from all of us at Justice to Fabian Vargas and Lizette Oliveros. See you at the wedding. Back in a moment with some final thoughts on a man I know all too well. Stay tuned. Finally tonight, my old friend Robert Durst back in the news, the guy who chops up his neighbors. Prosecutors in L.A. begin calling witnesses for a hearing next month in the murder case against Robert Durst. This after a judge ruled that the identity of one of the witnesses in the case does need to remain confidential because, well, Durst has like a tendency to kill people who are witnesses to his crimes. And if you want the real story, you need to read my book, He Killed Them All, Robert Durst and My Quest for Justice. The book's on sale now. Go anywhere. Amazon. Anyway, that's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Greg Gutfeld is next.